Good evening. This is Felipe Ortiz, and today is February 18th, 2021. We are here at the Summerlin Library. It is about 6:04 p.m. Pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Directive on Public Meetings, we are doing the meeting some in person and some online through WebEx. The agenda and board meeting documents can be found at https://lvccld.org board. So if you have any comments, please send them to that. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Allison, we may have roll call.
My apologies. Chair Ortiz.
Here.
Chair. Trustee Bilber Axelrod.
Here.
Trustee Benavides.
Here.
Trustee Wadley Mune.
Here.
Trustee Foyt.
Here.
Trustee Francis Drake.
Here.
Trustee Melendrez.
Here.
Trustee Raymaker.
Here.
Trustee Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Wilson.
Here.
And I also note for the record that Council Welt is attending via WebEx, and our new executive director, Mr. Calvin Watson, is here with us in Summerlin. You have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Proceed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, and thank you, everybody. Thank you, trustees, for joining us tonight in person and on WebEx. And here at Summerlin Library, if you're asked to leave in an emergency, please leave. Do not hesitate. There's doors in the front, doors in the back. If you don't leave, we'll leave without you. Okay. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Topics raised on these items must be limited to the matters on today's agenda. If you wish to comment on an item appearing on this agenda, you may send an email to board comments, one word, board comments at LVCCLD.org. Please identify which agenda item you're commenting on, and that way we will read those comments to see if they're appropriate to address or to hear. Thank you very much. Ms. Ellison, is anybody asking to make a public comment at this time?
Yes, we have two public comments. First, email wanted to comment on item 9A. It is from Eric Quinn, and it's entitled Concerns Regarding Allowances for Executives. During this whole pandemic, many employees have had to work twice as hard. There are assistant branch managers who are also acting as branch managers, doing twice the work. There are department heads covering different branches, not only their own. How do you justify giving a car allowance to executives when they are the ones that can actually afford it right now, and the rest of your employees are not getting cost of living, pay raise, or anything that will help them through this virus? How did you justify an increase in pay for Fred James, who only did it because he was halfway out the door? How do you justify spending money for the executives who are the ones with higher salaries and are not the ones putting themselves in danger confronting this virus every single day in their community? They sit in their clean office while West Las Vegas and Clark County are run to the ground from positive cases. Yet those same employees are the ones who have 2 weeks to recover and no car allowance. Explain it. Explain that, justify it. I'm waiting. And that was from Eric Quinn. Then we have another one.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Eric Quinn. Hopefully that item is on the agenda, and there'll be a full discussion on that by the other trustees. And at the end, hopefully it'll have some answers for you. Thank you very much. Go ahead, proceed.
Okay. This is an email with no name. The email address is weareheroes@protonmail.com. This individual is commenting on item 9A and 9D. Item 9A, I wanted to know as a patron of the library, how is a car expense this moment in time any help to the library? How is this essential in these times? Did they not get paid enough to cover their own expenses? Can't they deduct it on their taxes like everyone else? Item 9D, if the EC gets to get their increase, will the rest of the staff increase said increase? You froze the budget for a reason. You froze the budget to remodel the libraries that desperately need it. But you are willing to look to increase pay for people that some reach up to a six-figure income. How is that essential? And again, no name.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. Under Mr. No Name, hopefully, or Ms. No Name, we will give you, or you'll be able to glean an answer when we get to that agenda item. Thank you very much for your input. Are there any more public comments?
No more public comments at this time.
Thank you very much. I'll entertain a motion for board action to accept the proposed agenda. Will somebody
So
make that
moved.
motion? So moved by Robin Wadley Munier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Jose.
Let's try Marilyn France, I'm sorry, Sandra Raymaker. Sorry, thank you. Is a second? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. On our agenda, at this time, first, I'm going to deviate just slightly. I'd like to introduce our new director. He's going to talk about himself down the road, or if you have any questions, but at least right now, I'd like to introduce our new and welcome our new director, Mr. Kelvin Watson, here to my right.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz.
And then later on, when we get to his portion, if you have any questions from him, what he likes, hopefully he changes from the world champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the Raiders. But welcome aboard. You're in a good company. All right, thank you very much. At this time, I would like to invite the board to the front. We have some retirements and some recognitions. The district does this normally, but we had them all at once because of a lot of reasons. So at this time, the first person will go to the front for those that want to join us. We get to separate ourselves out 6 feet or as close as we can to 6 feet. So if we want to do that, anybody like to join us for the presentations? And this is on item number 4. Right here in the front.
I am speaking. Let's stand a bit of a distance apart. Yeah, probably a good idea.
Robin, you're right.
And Kelvin is Shannon. Go ahead.
So thank you, everybody. This evening, today on February 18th, we have some employees that have retired or are retiring, and we would like to honor them with a small gift. This evening, it's hard when you're doing it online and WebEx, so a couple people are not here, and our director, Mr. Watson, will accept their recognition in their name, okay? So first one, Shannon Bilberry Axelrod. I know you're watching and you're here with us today online. Shannon served on the Board of Trustees since April 2011, and her term expires at the end of February 2021. During that time, Shannon saw many library district responses to the community. She arrived on the board with the opening of the Windmill Library and Service Center in the midst of a great recession. We all remember that, 2008, 9, 10. As the community recovered from the Great Recession, she saw the computer centers at all branch libraries full of individuals learning new technologies, job seeking, and getting online government services. When the pandemic hit in 2020, Shannon championed the library district's new partnership, the Vegas Strong Academies, that assist students and parents struggling with online learning. Shannon has been an avid champion of the East Las Vegas and the Mesquite Library projects. A projector of her home, Spring Valley and Rainbow Libraries, for the library branch renovation projects that would bring the next generation of library services to the library district facilities, as adopted in our facilities master plan. As a Nevada Assemblywoman, Shannon led several legislative initiatives for the library district, including the 2017 bill that gave the library district and the library foundation the ability to enter into collaborative funding arrangements. The subsequent use of those powers yielded the Clark County Las Vegas Library District $6 million in capital projects for the Mesquite and the East Las Vegas libraries. In her role as library trustee, Shannon has also served on the board of the Library District Foundation, lending her insights, community contacts, and ideas to the successful foundation priority projects, including the service innovation projects like the Teen Tech Labs, Teacher, Tutors, and Libraries, and the Career Online High School. And Shannon has support for core library district programs such as live performances, students to visit galleries, the Performing and Visual Arts camps in the West Las Vegas Library, STEAM programs throughout the library branches, and the Summer Challenge, Learning Challenge. Shannon, we extend our appreciation to you for these highlights and for a lot of other ways you made the difference on this Board of Trustees. We want to personally thank you, Shannon, for taking the time, and thank your daughter Molly and Danny, your home team, for helping you stay with us. At this time, Director Watson has an award for you. He'll accept it on your behalf, and we'll be getting it to you. And then at this time, we're going to have the trustees, if they want to make a quick comment. We'll start with Sandra Rainmaker over here. Actually, if you take the mic, and then you can hand it to her. Thank you.
I apologize. To get on the record, I need you on a mic. So if you want to, you want us to take a picture, and then we can.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do this. So Shannon, a little bit awkward because of COVID-19. Now we'll go back to the tables and do some acolytes, and then give you the last word. Okay, Shannon, is that okay with you? Yeah.
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, we'll take pictures. Come on this way, everybody, or as close as we can. A little bit more, let's get 3 feet. Don't go away, don't go away. We got one more. Yeah, 2 more. No, they'll hand it. No, you can sit there. He needs Fritz. The award?
You wanted to be award. Okay. No, Fred's here. You know, we need to have a security escort for Fred to make sure.
Let me hold that also. So Fred's being escorted by security. Hopefully that's not a sign of the times. Escort in and escort out. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Come on up. At this time, we have another employee that's retiring and leaving us. It is my pleasure to recognize former acting executive director, acting human service resources director, and deputy director, and chief financial officer, Fred James. James, Mr. Fred, we thank you for the 22 years you provided visionary guidance and expertise to the library district. We are particularly appreciative of the steady guidance you gave this district during the past 9 months of COVID-19 pandemic as the acting executive director. It was a time of much disruption, but the library district was one of a few national public libraries that stayed flexible, open for a full range of public services, and paid employees throughout the various government mandated shutdowns and service adjustments. You also started to lay the foundation for a new business of the library district's digital program development by establishing the legal framework for us to work with that. In late 2019, you stepped in to assist the acting director of human resources for 9 months. At that time, you continued your work as a chief financial officer and also as the director of financial services for the library district, triple duty. In early 2019, you received the Government Finance Officers Association Hero Award for public service. This national award recognized you as one of the best in finance office policies, practices, and creative thinking. Although you started in 1999 with a department that had 25 audit findings, under your direction, year after year, your department consistently received pristine audits. Over the past decade, your team has consistently received other national awards for budget, financial statements, innovative financial practices, including annual long-term revenue forecasting. You've also received 2 voluntary retirement enrollment programs and engagement in the new markets tax credit programs, where we were able to secure $6 million to close the funding gap for the East Las Vegas Library and the Mesquite Library projects. And this was as a result of escalating costs of labor and material. Over the past 22 years, you've taken the library district from a mom and pop organization with no automated services to a fully integrated financial and human resource system, automated check depositing systems, and the fastest and most responsive accounts payable department among public entities. Everybody appreciates getting their money quickly. With this sound financial infrastructure, the library district was recognized as in the Library Journal Library of the Year in 2003. And the library district also received the National Medal for Library and Museum Services from the Institute of Museum and Library Services in 2014. Your department created budget management procedures that took savings from operations and carefully appropriated them to debt services, collections, capital projects, for the building and maintenance and repairs, technology, vehicles, and projects. With these forward-thinking budget management strategies, you leave the library district with a legacy. No debt on our books. Let me say that again, no debt on the Clark County Library District books. 3 new library branches built on a pay-as-you-go. 1 new library built on a medium-term bond. Automated materials handling system that systematically kept our personnel costs low compared to other national libraries. A healthy collection budget, but even in times of disruption. And thank you again for leaving us with no debt. Okay? This is a small summary of all the accomplishments Mr. Fred James has done over the past 22 years, and leaves us no doubt in anyone's mind that you are a library district star, and you have made a difference in our organization, in our community. I'd like to thank you again for your service and everything that you've done. If you hold it up like that for the library district, we wish you well on your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it's not a clock. No one needs a clock in retirement. But thank you very much. It was a pleasure to work for the library district. It was a pleasure to work with all the employees that are here. And I want to take this opportunity for all the employees that sent me emails, texts, cards, and wishing me well on my retirement. And I can't believe all of the chocolate I got from a couple of employees. It was a 2x4 Hershey bar. But I want to thank all the employees. It was a cooperative endeavor for us to meet. We had fantastic boards over that time. And doing the new market tax credit, it was a leap of faith that we would be able to do this. And it was something that an agency of our size took on. We were one of the first agencies to actually take it on for our size. And it resulted in $6 million. And it also closed the funding gap for the Mesquite Library. It was a pleasure to do all of these things. It was something that I enjoyed doing, especially forecasting. Thank you very much.
And I think we need to have Maverick come take a picture in there as well. Okay, Maverick will take you out now.
Gotta get off top.
Okay, Steve.
And Shannon, just to repeat, you get the last word, but with respect to Fred, every director that leaves gets escorted out by security as a tradition. Thank you very much. At this time, on behalf of the Library District's Board of Trustees, I would like to thank former Director of General Services, Mr. Steve Rice, and former Director of Library Operations, Jennifer Schember. Ms. Schember is not here at this time. Hopefully she's watching. Both for their outstanding contributions to the Library District. Steve, as we mentioned in November's board meeting, your visionary leadership of your department has left a legacy of well-maintained facilities and a state of the industry new library facilities. You have changed the landscape for learning and gathering in the Las Vegas Valley and in Clark County. We were under quarantine when you retired in November, so it was a great pleasure to have you visit today to receive this small token of our tremendous appreciation for your exceptional leadership at General Services. I am forever grateful to you personally for the successful build at East Las Vegas Library. And this is an individual that built 2 libraries at the same time, and that is really, really tough. So thank you again. I appreciate it. Would you like to say a couple words real quick and then we'll take a picture?
Well, it's been 3 months since my last day, and I have to tell you, retirement is great. There's no stress in retirement. Although I will say though that there is a part of me that does miss getting up in the morning and coming to work at this district. After 27 years, it's an honor and a pleasure to have worked for this organization, to work for this board, to work for the executive directors, and to work with the staff. I do miss all of that, and I hope I always will. So thanks again, everybody, and I appreciate the recognition.
You'll be finished. I'll let you do that.
Okay.
You're Jen.
Thank you very much. At this time, I'd ask our director, Kelvin Watson, to step forward and accept Jennifer Schimber's recognition. Jennifer, I hope you're watching. While you're not able to join us today, we want to take a minute to show you how the trustees in our audience today award we will send to you in appreciation for your leadership at Library Operations Department. You are the best example of our homegrown talent in the library district. As you develop your professional career here, moving up among management positions to various branches to lead the Department of Library Operations, which is all the employees fall under the Library Operations Director. At a time when the business of libraries was evolving with technology and service innovations to meet the learning, career, cultural, and social needs, interests, and dreams of our residents of Las Vegas and Clark County, your legacy of learning, creativity, and compassion will continue as the librarians you trained and inspired carry on this work. Jennifer, again, thank you. Our director is accepting your award on your behalf. We appreciate and value everything that you did and that you grew up with the Clark County Library, Las Vegas Library District. Again, thank you very much. At this time, I'll entertain comments concerning Shannon Bilberry Axelrod leaving our board. I'll start with Robin Wadley Munier. If you'd like to make a couple comments, Shannon.
I would love to. Shannon, I've enjoyed this time being here with you. We fought hard to get the theater center back at the Rainbow Library, but we won't give up on that. Sooner or later that will come to pass, as will a library maybe at the mall. But you work so hard for the whole community in the state of Nevada. And I just want you to know that I appreciate that very much. And you come from a good family stock that the whole entire family has dedicated themselves and their careers to the community in some way. And we're so appreciative, and maybe you'll be able to serve on the board again. That would certainly be a benefit to this board. And I'm going to miss you, and I'm going to miss the other people too. My turn's coming up next. So thank you so much. Really, truly.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, would you like to say a few words?
I would, thank you, Chair. So Shannon, you've been a good friend. I mean, I'm gonna definitely miss you on the board, even though I know you're just a phone call away. I know how much, you love the libraries, how passionate you are, and how you have been able to raise Molly to love and be passionate about libraries too. So I wouldn't be surprised if one day we'll be seeing Molly sitting up here with us. And I look forward to, seeing that one day, you passing on the baton to her. And I know that even though you might not be on the board, you're definitely going to be a champion for the library. And I know that that's definitely a plus for us. You definitely will be missed. And we'll see each other again real soon.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, if you'd like to say a few words.
Shannon, we're going to miss you. I know you deserve to be proud of your work here on the board. It's been an important time for us, and your service has definitely made a difference, not just on the library board, but on the foundation board as well. Your input. I wish you the best in Carson City at the moment. Don't freeze to death, and blessings to you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, would you like to say a few words?
I just want to echo what my fellow trustees have said. Thank you for your dedication and passion over the decade, and thank you for laying the strong foundation for new board members like myself to aspire to have such a similar contribution to the work that the Las Vegas Library is doing. So thank you for setting the example and being just there for us all through this process.
Thank you very much. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Felipe. Year, I've had the privilege of working with your father in the past as our congressman, and what I appreciate the most and I'm going to miss is your gutsiness. You're not afraid to have the difficult conversations and push those tough questions forward on multiple issues. So I've learned so much from your example, from your leadership. I'm going to miss you, but I know you're doing your job for us in Carson City and still continue to do public service for us, as you and your entire family has shown an example of what a great Nevadan can be. So thank you for your time on this board. I hope that I can accomplish half of what you've accomplished while you were on this board. Thank you, and continue to serve us well in Carson City.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, if you'd like to say a few words.
When I joined the board, Shanna was the very first person to reach out to me and welcome me. I thought she'd been there forever, and turned out that she was not that much, hadn't been there that much longer than I had, but she always made me feel welcome and joined. I always liked when she brought Molly, because Molly was always commenting on what I had as far as my bags with the Hello Kitty and things like that on it. She always made a comment, and it was always kind of nice to have somebody notice or have a child notice, having left the teaching career. Also, thank you so much for what you do for the foundation as a volunteer at the warehouse. I hope I continue to hear from you and see you around maybe once in a while there too. So thank you for everything you do, and keep working for us up north.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson.
Oh, Shannon, I've been on the board for a little less than 2 years, and due to COVID, we didn't really get to know each other that well on a personal level. Yet you wear your heart on your sleeve with such passion. I feel like I know you just from being on this board with you. Even over the last 9 months of doing this by video, there's no denying the heart and energy you put into every bit you do with this. And it's just an example to follow for every trustee to come behind you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker.
Well, Shannon, you're such a great example, and it's been such a pleasure, and I just appreciate everything you have done and the great leadership that you have shown for all of us to follow in your steps. So take care and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much, Shannon. I would like to personally thank you for your mentorship, your leadership. A lot of things, a lot of moving parts here at the Library District, and you've been a very good listening ear and also providing great ideas. That's on one side. On the other side, you've left a trail of a trail for a lot of our customers that they'll never know the hard work that you've done and the investment that you've made in making their lives better. I believe that. I've seen it. I can attest to it. So I want to personally thank you for everything you've done for the library district, Las Vegas, Clark County Library District. Again, this is not goodbye. We still need you, but thank you again for serving on the board, and you get the last word.
That was so kind, everyone. I actually have tears in my eyes. So thank you so much. This board has meant everything to me. When I first was appointed, I had a 4-year-old and I loved going to the library. I never in a million years could have thought that it would change my life. I mean, really, the library and what it stands for and what it has really propelled me into even the way I look at my job in the assembly. And currently, as chair of the education committee, it's all about kids and getting the kids in Nevada access to things. And the library does that in such an amazing way. So thank you. Like I said, Molly was 4 years old when I started, and we just celebrated her 14th birthday on Valentine's Day. So I feel like she's grown up with this board too. So thank you so much for your friendship, all of you. I really do consider you friends. And I'll just say, when I was elected to the assembly in 2016, I was sure that I was going to have to resign. And I just, as a lark, went and met with our legal counsel and just said, I do, right? And she said, no. So it just was so empowering to me to know that I could use my platform here into the assembly to help drive legislation that would help the library as well. So it's been a wonderful ride. Like I said, it's been one of the best experiences of my life, and thank you all very, very much.
Shannon, thank you again. We appreciate and value everything you've done. Thank you. All right, so let's move on to our normal course of business. At this time, everybody was given, Ms. Ellison, do we have the November 2012 or which board minutes are available for approval?
We have item 5D, special board meeting, January 8th, 2021, and the regular board meeting of January 21st, 2021. Items A through C will be completed by the next meeting.
Okay, at this time, we've been given the special board meeting minutes of January 8th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes. Who will make that motion?
I do make the motion.
Elizabeth Foyt, is there a second?
Rainmaker, second.
Sandra Remaker, second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting of January 21st, 2021. Who will make that motion?
Jose.
So moved, Trustee Rogers.
Okay, Jose Luis Melendez makes the motion. Trustee Dr. Rogers makes the second. Seconds the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, nobody opposed. Thank you very much. At this time, I don't have anything to report, but Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, if you share with us a little bit about the ALA Midwinter Virtual Conference.
Well, first of all, it was virtual, unfortunately, but they did their best. It's just difficult to maneuver around it. It's not a reflection necessarily on my own technical skills. I would say that it's awkward because there are both exhibitors, speakers, presentations, and such, and some things you can slip in and out and some you can't. But for me, the high points included a number of author talks, including the actor, writer, director, Ethan Hawke. He was superb. And he glowed when he spoke of libraries, calling them one of the most beautiful institutions that mankind has ever created. He has written a number of screenplays. He's had Tonys, he's had nominations for Academy Awards, and he has written 6 books. He has a new one coming out called A Ray of Darkness. It's drawn from his theatrical background. It's the heartbreaking story of a young man who takes a starring role on Broadway just as his marriage destructs. The book and his personal audio recording of its release will be out this month from Penguin Random. Others making their appearances, including the reggae icon Ziggy Marley, the now late Cicely Tyson, and most importantly, Ruby Bridges, who was the youngest of the children who was used kind of as a test case for school integration. And that happened in 1960 in New Orleans. She's now an activist. You probably all know what she looked like as a child because she was portrayed on a Saturday Evening Post magazine, the little girl by herself trotting off to school under watchful eyes. She has recorded her book as well as written it. It's called This Is Your Time. It's a call to action for modern activists, and again is from Penguin Random. She is very, very forward thinking, and she wrote a book at her I'm mistaken. Sorry, give that up. The next and the final speaker that actually drew the conference to a close was my personal favorite, of course, First Lady Jill Biden. And she is so forward thinking and so pro education and so positive about libraries and brings us all in under the umbrella of understanding that we have to be the core of a community. And she reminded us our buildings are where communities come together, where the knowledge of generations is offered up, and most importantly, where we help children learn compassion, set goals, and become productive. She commended libraries on their stellar efforts to stay open and available throughout the pandemic, really shining a beacon during a very dark time. One of the rising authors in America today was given a shout out during Biden's speech, and her name is Angie Thomas. Her first book, The Hate You Give, was actually made into a fabulous film. If you have not seen it, it's called The Hate You Give. And she's now released another book called Concrete Rose. And it's interesting. I get the Sunday New York Times, and they ran an article in their book review section, their magazine. And it just, it made her day, obviously, the individual. And her name, is Angie Thomas. The updates I'd like to give you is that the next ALA will also be virtual, and that's in June of this year. ALA 21 will run from June 24th to 29th and will again be virtual. They have a new event, which they have not yet named, which will be next January 22, and that will be in San Antonio. And shall we hope that we can all go rather than be stuck virtually or still in a pandemic? And that will be January 21st to the 24th. And ALA will eventually get back to Washington, D.C. in June of 22. On a final note, I don't know if any of you have been following this, but a number of publishers have decided that they are not going to publish books that have anything to do with the February 6th uprising and, January 6th uprising. And one individual who was head of a rather large publishing house has been released from her position. Hatchet is the company that released her. And there's a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal story about that. Thank you for letting me represent you. I have gone to ALA, I'm trying to think, Marilyn, 30 years off and on. I'm trying to think, not always as a trustee, but it's a magnificent event, and it's a pity it was virtual. But I even got a certificate for saying I was there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trustee Elizabeth Foyt. Next on our agenda, at this time, I'd like to introduce, for those of you watching online with us, our new Executive Director, Mr. Kelvin Watson. We want to welcome him today, welcome aboard, and have him say a few words about himself or anything else he'd like to say, and then we'll get to the reports. Welcome, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Chair Ortiz. Good evening, everyone. So I'll be brief. This is day 3, so I'm still settling in, or in other ways, just trying to find my way around. So I started this Tuesday, 3rd day on the job, and really just learning and meeting people already and the staff. Had a meeting with the executive council this week, and meeting with directors individually and talking to them and understanding just really what they do and who they are, and having conversations with them, and having them the opportunity to meet with me a little more than just the interview process or or what my resume has to say. Right now, we're just scheduling meetings with the trustees, planning my branch visits, partner visits, community leader visits, etc. So I'll be out and about, and just ready to meet everyone. And if you see me, come up to me and talk to me. I know this is COVID, so we'll keep our distance, and we'll do the bumps that we all have been doing. Actually, this week, on Tuesday, which was my first day, I was out and had the opportunity to spend some time with our U.S. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto on a visit that she was doing to employ Nevada, the business hub at the Sahara West Library. So I'm already doing what I said I would be doing, and I also had the opportunity to work, to meet with and work and plan some thoughts with our Workforce Connections team and their executive director, Jaime Cruz, and look forward to working with them in the future as well. So it's been very welcoming here to come from Florida. I flew in on Monday afternoon, started work on Tuesday. Everybody's been welcoming me. I'm still adjusting to the time change, so I think it's almost 10 o'clock Eastern time. So probably up early every morning getting ready. So I'm looking forward to just the opportunity to take the library where we can continue to go. And I appreciate Trustee Foyt sharing those words that she shared regarding the American Library Association. And as you all know, and have heard, I do a lot of work with ALA, but also just the First Lady Biden's thoughts about the library. And I wore my special mask today, and this is what I truly believe. But I believe in the power of libraries. And so I wore that especially tonight because I do believe in the power of libraries. And that's what I want to just share, just my love and passion for libraries, and the staff's love and passion for libraries in the community, and that libraries can impact people's lives, and we can change people's lives, especially during these days and times that we're in. So that's all I have to say tonight, and you'll hear more from me as I get settled in and kind of get my feet under me. But certainly I'm here to answer any questions that anybody has for me. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Watson. And Miss Allison is setting up meetings with each and every one of you to either meet in person or WebEx or Zoom, whatever you prefer, to give them any thoughts you like, unfiltered, uncensored. So make sure you get a hold of Allison, or she gets a hold of you, so that she can set up a time to do that. Okay? Thank you, Director Watson. At this time, let's move on to our library reports. Let's go, let me do it a little bit differently here. Brian Wilson, is there any report that you'd like to be called up?
Not at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Marilyn Francis Drake, are there any reports that you would like to be brought forward to discuss?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Robin Wadley Meunier, are there any reports that you would like to be brought up and discussed? No, Chair. Thank you very much. Elizabeth Foyt, are there any reports that you'd like to bring forward to discuss?
No, I'm waiting for other things on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to Trustee Sandra Raymaker. She's now the Mayor Pro Tem of Mesquite. Wish her congratulations.
Proud of you.
And Trustee Raymaker, do you have any items that you would like to be brought forward for discussion?
No, not at this time, and thank you so much.
Congratulations again. Trustee Kelly Benavides, are there any items from the different library reports that you'd like to be brought forward and discussed?
Yes, Chair, I'd like the community engagement report.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, with us discussing certain items, I always like to spotlight some good news, right? And so on this one, if you look at the report, there is an item of an event that we have been showcasing on some, if not all, of our libraries. It's the Take and Make program, where children can pick up a bag with crafts to take home and something hands-on. One thing that I always tell people when I talk about libraries is that we're much more than just books. We're not just a building full of books. So I really like when staff is innovative, staff thinks out of the box. So not really that I had too many questions about it, but I wanted to spotlight and wanted to see if we know who brought the idea up, if it was one of our staff members that came up with this idea. I think it's great. I think it's innovative, especially now where children are physically going to school. I think this is a great opportunity for them to not only get out of their home, but do something outside with crafts and be more hands-on. So I just wanted to congratulate the department, and if Matt had any other input or information about this program.
Great. Chair Ortiz, Board of Trustees, Mr. Watson, and Council Walt, thank you, Trustee Benavides, for pointing out this great program of Take and Make activities. During the library district facility closure, a number of strategy sessions occurred between upper level management and administrative management to really discuss how we were going to pivot our programs and meet the needs of our community really in new ways. And we decided that as we come back, that this would be a great way that we can engage the community, where we can have people come in, they can pick up crafts, and we named it a Take and Make. You come in, you pick up your items, all of the instructions are there with that craft. It's all included in one package. You check it out, you get your library books, you take it home with you, and then you're able to complete that craft or that activity. So those are some strategy sessions that happened in the upper level management. I also know a lot of the individual programs and a number of concepts bubbled up from staff members who work within the library district. And so we kind of put, our youth services department put a framework around what we would like to, the types of activities and what we could roll out. We went through a bunch of staff training. We did a lot to really think about how programs can exist outside the four walls of the library. And then the last component of the Take and Make program is that it is a national trend that's occurring through resources like ALA and PLA. Having our staff have the type of professional development gives them the access and the connection to implementing ideas like this as well.
Thank you very much, Trustee Benavides. Any other questions or comments?
Just one comment, Matt, if maybe, because when I was reading the synopsis of it, it did talk about like the connection of book. One thing that I would like to maybe see in the future is with the craft, maybe connecting it to a book. I know there was one craft where it was like a snowman Christmas ornament. So maybe we would be able to connect the snowman theme with a book, so that when the child is reading the book, then you do the craft, kind of like encouraging them to not only do the craft, but to read along with it as well. So that would be my only suggestion on that.
Thank you very much for that suggestion. I'll have that conversation with our executive director. And just to let you know, some of the activities that are happening with books is we are looking at packaged collections of books. So books that are interest, let's say it's airplanes, for instance. We might gather 10 books on airplanes in the youth services department. And rather than checking out one book, we're looking at checking out that bundle of books. But we can certainly have those discussions about pairing them with some of the Take and Make programs.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Wading-McNeil, did you have any questions on this topic at all? Okay. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, did you have any questions on this program? Trustee Brian Wilson, did you have any questions on this program?
No, thank you.
Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions on this program?
No, I just applauded.
Very
Good.
good, thank you. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, do you have any questions on this program?
No, not this time.
Trustee Osalis Melendres, do you have any questions on this program?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Trustee Dr. Rogers, do you have any questions on this program?
I did not have a question about this program, but I did have another comment related to the report, if this is the appropriate time to make it.
Yes, go ahead.
And I just wanted to give some kudos. It gave me this nostalgic feeling when I saw the highlight section under the gallery services of the donated photos of the Space Shuttle Challenger crew. Dr. Ronald E. McNair is one of the astronauts that we do a lot of programming around the country. And he was the first Black astronaut and went to space. And there's a whole program named after him at the federal government where it targets first generation underrepresented populations to push them into STEM program and all the way through doctoral degree attainment. So it was good to see that connection.
Very good. Thank you very much. Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, did you have any questions or comments on this section or for this program?
No, I don't, but I thank both my fellow trustees for bringing both of those issues out. Because I'll be honest, I kind of skimmed through the report tonight, and I will go back and read it. But thank you for bringing those two things out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Vino, will you step forward? I have a question for you.
John Vino, Acting General Service Director.
Thank you very much. Director, through you, when I got on this board, one of the questions that I had is give me an OSHA report. How many injuries occurred? And so I saw that that's been done on a regular basis. So thank you for staying with that.
No problem.
Secondly, the question, I wanted to highlight, we're continuing to have problems with homeless issues at the Clark County Library, specifically probably the West Las Vegas Library and the Charleston Library. And so as much as we'd like to help everybody, the Clark County Las Vegas Library District that's not an area we deal with. We don't do fees, we don't do housing, we don't do anything like that. We do a lot of things to help them improve their lives, but I saw that there was 31 incidents at the Flamingo Library or Clark County Library on Flamingo Road. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Do you have any indication on?
I don't have the breakdown.
Okay.
Leo might be able to speak more to the individual incidents. I mean, I do know overall our incidents are actually trending down.
Okay.
And I did mention in my report though that just to go back, we do have more mask related incidents. And so, we've had to change our post orders a little bit for our guards. Somewhat. So you will see more at the entrances. We did have to use them to do the 25% count, and with the early openings and with our BSA program. So you see the guards, monitoring people coming in and the homeless have stayed off our property. They mostly stay on the city sidewalks. And so we have the guards talk to them. We let them know the services that are available. And we make sure if they're on our property, of course, that they're actually using our services. And most of them do have, cell phones and are actually using Wi-Fi and other services. So we don't actively, expel them from our properties. That's not our, we more engage and try to help them with services and let them use the Wi-Fi services as they need.
Okay, very good. That's important, having them charge their phone and use the Wi-Fi services. Thank you very much. I'm satisfied with that answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Does anybody else have any items that they'd like to bring up or call forward? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on our agenda, Director Watson, I do see that, I don't know if you have a report, but I do have a question for you. I read so many papers. I guess it was Monday or Tuesday. I read that the library system is included in a increase to 50% capacity. Have you thought about that, or what plan do we have to move to 50% capacity as quickly as possible?
Yes, Chair Ortiz, I'm going to have Matt McNally kind of give an update on that particular issue.
Hello again. Chair Ortiz, Board of Trustees, Mr. Watson, and Council Welt, good evening. For the record, my name is Matt McNally, Community Engagement Director. Mr. Watson asked me to provide a brief update regarding the governor's announcement last week regarding capacity and group gatherings. First, rest assured that the library district remains in compliance with the governor's orders. When changes are announced by the governor, those expectations are quickly communicated to administrative staff and through the chain of managers and supervisors, and that works its way all the way down to our frontline employees. Staff are also informed and trained through staff meetings, memos, all district communications, and department email. And expectations are posted on the library district staff updates webpage. Staff then contact all partners. We also contact all customers who have rental uses with the library district. And the general public is informed through changes on the library district's website when searching for events. And also during the Communico reservation process when a customer is trying to reserve one of our facilities. Now, these methods ensure that really no patron or partner is caught off guard with our library district expectations and in accordance with the governor's guidance. So over the last year, patrons and partners alike have really praised our staff and our approach. We personally call every partner and every rental user, and then we later follow up with an email about those expectations when they occur. Our customer service approach is by far the thing I think that I'm really most proud of. We've gotten lots of kudos and very few, if any, I think, negative comments about how we've addressed changes with governor guidelines. Staff have just really done a great job. Governor Sisolak issued a new announcement on February 11th, which took effect on February 15th. And under this new directive, maximum capacities for libraries was listed at 50%. Maximum capacity for group gatherings was capped at 35% or 100 persons, whichever is less. So this stays in effect until March 15th, at which time the maximum capacity will increase to 50% across the board, or 250 persons, whichever is less. Now, there is a caveat to these maximum occupancies and gatherings, and that is that 6 feet of social distancing must still be implemented. So we have what's called operating capacity, which is a little bit different than the true capacity or the group gathering capacity. And sometimes that operating capacity is actually lowered on a case-by-case basis to make sure that the 6 feet of social distancing is implemented. So capacity is really the occupancy load of a space or a building. And a group gathering is an activity that occurs and meets 4 criteria. And that is that the gathering occurs in the same space, for the same time, for the same purpose, and for the same duration of time. So if those 4 criteria are met, for instance, this board meeting, then that constitutes a group gathering which occurs within the library and is subject to the 35% occupancy. So the governor's orders have been issued as guidelines, and the library district has implemented the best practices to comply. These include staff and patrons wearing masks in all of our libraries. This includes programs and events. Maximum capacities are always identified, and they're always posted at 25%, 35%, or 50%, depending on the order for each space. So this includes places like art galleries, adult literacy classrooms, meeting rooms, all of our performing arts centers, youth activity areas and story time areas, and smaller rooms under the library operations like group study areas. So there are pods. Those are groups of families of 6 or less individuals. And those families are they're allowed to be placed together so long as they're socially distanced 6 feet from others. Staff also implements a 4-question COVID-19 questionnaire screening that's implemented at the entrance to all group gatherings. I think many of you probably experienced that this evening as you entered the theater. And any customer who declines to answer, shows suspicion that they're sick or symptomatic, or answers yes to any of those questions is asked to leave for the safety of our staff and for our other customers. And that's in accordance with Governor Sisolak's recommendations. So we reached out to Southern Nevada Health District. They confirmed that capturing information for contact tracing through pre-registration or through screenings is not necessary for groups smaller than 2,500 individuals. So we're not really, we don't have any events that are reaching that capacity at this time. Staff also developed audience load in and load out procedures. We've implemented those for every space. This reduces customers crossing paths, and it also includes creating a socially distanced queue line whenever necessary. We experienced this on election day, where we had a number of people who were wanting to come into the building, and our staff actually ran queue lines outside of the buildings and measured off 6 feet and put something down on the ground, and we were able to manage those rather large queue lines to keep social distancing standards in place. The standards also relate to our performing artists and presenters that are on stage. And so for those individuals, we comply with all of the governor's suggestions, such as maintaining 25 feet of distance between presenters on stage and audience members. This can be achieved often by placing artists further back into the stage or reserving the first few rows of some of our venues. Performers wear masks with the exception of vocalists and wind instrument players. The governor later revised some guidelines to include individuals like comedians and magicians and other performers who need to use facial expressions to be able to convey their art. Performers maintain 6 feet of social distancing on stage, and for those that are unmasked, we recommend, and we're following the recommendation for them to be at least 12 feet apart. Finally, backstage personnel and performers maintain social distancing backstage. Staff works with presenters to avoid intermissions whenever possible. This helps mitigate transmission of people mingling in the lobby or using restrooms at the same time. And plexiglass barriers and floor decals are placed on the stage when appropriate to minimize the transmission of air particles. So overall, we've really experienced positive feedback from our staff and from our patrons. Many are grateful that we're really taking these mitigation efforts seriously. And again, these actions are a result of the state guidance and directives that were put forward. Just within the past week since the governor's latest announcement, we've actually seen, with that announcement of increasing capacity and group gathering sizes, we're already hearing from many partners who are ready and eager to get back and do programs with us. And they're very excited, as are contracted artists who are also really expressing a better comfort level now. And we're seeing a return to normalcy in our programming, and we're really just hoping to see that trend continue as we move toward the summer months. So with that, I hope I answered your question, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Thank you very much, Matt. Director, when the pandemic started, they already had a plan for pandemic, how to deal with it. In this pandemic mitigation plan, I would give them an A++ for the mitigation plan, the actual service, and the follow-up today where we're at a year later. So thank you, Matt. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Director, did you have anything to report on your report? No reports? Not yet. 3 days on the job. We can't.
Nothing to report today.
Okay. I am sorry. Does anybody have any questions for Matt McAnally on the return to 35% and 50% on March 15th? Mr. Wilson, did you have any questions for him? Sorry.
No, Chair.
Thank you. Marilyn Francis Drake.
My only question is, do these lifting of some of the restrictions, are they going to carry over to work with the foundation?
All of the restrictions are in place for all activities that happen within the library district.
Thank you. Robin Wiley-Minier, do you have any questions or comments?
I just want to thank you so much for all the efforts that you and your staff have done in the last 11 and a half months that we've been experiencing this. And I think that we have really, and your team have shown exemplary productivity that other venues, libraries, and other agencies could take to heart, because we've been able to really service the community for 99% of the time. And that's due to a lot of your efforts and your team. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll pass those kind words along.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments on this issue?
I would certainly concur with Trustee Wadley-Monet. I'm recently back from Arizona, and I was staying in Scottsdale and doing business in Phoenix as well. The Scottsdale library system not only is less than capacity, they're closed, as is the library in Cave Creek and the majority of the branches in Phoenix, which I believe also includes our outlet for our used books that we have an overflow from. And they're not approaching the pandemic quite as we are, because in other ways, their restaurants are much more open. You can wander in anytime. But it's interesting to see that we've done so much better and that we're being able to be expanded in having programs as well as services. A big difference. Be proud. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Sandra Raymaker, any questions or comments on this topic?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Dr. Rogers, do you have any questions?
No, sir, not.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, do you have any questions or comments on this topic?
No, not at this time. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you very much. Kelly Benavides, trustee, do you have any questions or comments on the return to 35 and 50%?
Not at this time.
Thank you very much. Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, you get the last word. Do you have any questions or comments on our return to 35 and 50%?
No, I don't. That's I'll just say it's very exciting. And to Trustee Hoyt's point, it's nice to know that, we prioritize the citizens in accessing things like the library, which are change people's lives. So that's wonderful. Good job.
Thank you very much. Mr. McAnally, appreciate it. And please tell the staff, thank you again.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next item. It's unfinished business. It's a report of the 2020 legislative issues.
Excuse me, Chair Ortiz, do you need a? Okay.
Hang on a second. I have this put on the agenda regularly because we need to give 10 days notice. And then if we don't have anything to report, if they don't have anything to report from us, we just move to strike. And I don't think there's anything to report at this time. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to strike this from the agenda at this time.
So moved.
So moved by Brian Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robin Wadley Munier. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you very much. So again, it'll continue on the reports until, on the agendas until the legislature's over, so we don't have to try to add it later on. Thank you, Allison.
I think we have to.
You have to accept the report.
Okay, entertain a motion to accept the report. The reports from all of the different divisions.
So moved.
So moved by Robin Wadley Munier.
Second.
Second by Dr. Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Those reports are critical and we do read them for anybody that's preparing those reports. Okay, thank you very much, Jerry, for reminding us. All right, we're on to new business. We have a discussion and possible board action to establish a car allowance policy for district employees, excluding the executive director because he has a different contract. This item was brought forward by Elizabeth Foyt, I believe. Was it Elizabeth? Yes. Okay. And so, Mr. Cabayas, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Florestan Cabayas, acting CFO for the record. The car allowance or auto allowance goes back as far as 1999, where the executive director at that time received $250 a month for the use of their personal vehicle for business purposes. The director hired a chief operating officer in the same year who received $150 monthly. And this was really the beginning of what we now refer to as the executive council. These 7 or 8 directors that represent the departments that served as a principal advisory body to the executive director. These positions had employment agreements that were approved by the board, and these agreements included the car allowance. Along with the COO, the public services director started receiving $150 a month in 2001. And these amounts changed over time as employment agreements were renewed and new directors began receiving the car allowance. The executive director began receiving $500 starting in 2005, and the COO received $400 a month starting in 2004. The public services director had an increase to $350 a month starting in 2005. In 2008, 3 other directors began receiving the monthly car allowance, and that included the general services director, who received $100 monthly, and the HR director and the development director, who both started receiving $400 a month. This was also the last time that any executive director was requiring an employment agreement for these positions. In 2015, the executive director at that time decided to give all members of the executive council the same amount, and those remaining members that didn't have a car allowance, a $400 monthly car allowance. So that meant that the general services director monthly amount increased from $100 a month to $400 a month. And the chief financial officer, the IT director, and the community engagement director began receiving $400 monthly at that time. The community engagement department was a new department in 2015. Then a new branding and marketing director began in 2016, and they began receiving the car allowance at $400 a month also. It was also decided that the assistant library operations director would receive a $400 monthly car allowance, and that started also in 2016. Because of the frequent driving to outlying branches, 2 regional branch services managers, not considered part of the executive council, also started receiving $400 a month as a car allowance starting in 2017. And the assistant library operations director is another position that is generally not considered part of what we're calling the executive council here. In the attachments to the agenda, you'll see a summary of average trips made by each position, both before and after the pandemic began. And a trip represents basically any additional driving on top of positions' routine, commute from home to their primary location. For most positions here, we're talking about the Windmill Library Service Center and then back home. The averages presented here are estimates based on memory. Because these positions have car allowances, they weren't tracking trips or mileage. But staff does understand the point trustees made last month that the car allowance is a perk, a special benefit provided to those who have a particular job, as opposed to compensation for mileage driven. At a mileage reimbursement rate of 56 cents per mile, someone would have to drive 24 miles a day, 7 days a week to accumulate $400 in 1 month. And even the most frequent drivers that were receiving a car allowance would have a tough time driving that amount, even before the pandemic. I also included a summary of reasons for driving to different locations. And these are only examples, since there are a variety of reasons why a department director may travel between branches or to different locations. Only the general services director has a designated library vehicle during business hours, but that position actually still makes frequent trips with their personal vehicle before and after hours because of the nature of the general services department. There are 2 other library district vehicles that are available at the Windmill Library Service Center for all other staff that are interested in reserving or using a district vehicle. Even those directors that were not receiving a monthly car allowance prior to 2015 usually chose to use their personal vehicle to make those 2 vehicles at the service center available for others. Then they would be able to submit for mileage reimbursement, which is the procedure we would likely implement if the board decides to eliminate the car allowance for these positions. The total car allowance budgeted for fiscal year 21 is $58,800. That total has been increasing, of course, over time as the amounts increased and different positions began receiving the car allowance. And any decrease in the annual expense from year to year would be due to vacant positions. Staff also confirmed that this is the only benefit or perk that non-represented employees, including the executive council, receive in addition to anything that other represented employees under the collective bargaining agreement receive. And I can answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me go back. You said the government's mileage rate is 56 cents a mile?
57.
56 cents per mile. Yes, that's the rate that the district reimburses for employees.
Okay, and how many vehicles do we have in inventory?
2.
Hang on.
There's 2 vehicles available for reservation by any and all staff.
Okay, well, let me rephrase it. How many vehicles do we have?
I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Mr. Vino?
I'm sorry, 32, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So there's a disconnect here. We have 32 vehicles that are sitting there, and this is probably a better question for Mr. Vino.
I think I can address that. The
Okay.
other vehicles are routinely used by other staff. For example, IT and director, printer gas technicians have vehicles that are used on a regular basis. General services, of course, for example, the couriers have vehicles that are used as part of their routine work duties. And many other members of community engagement, including outreach and PBS, programming and venue services, have vehicles earmarked for them. And they, again, the directors may occasionally use those vehicles for simply testing them out, making sure they're working properly, but they're not used for regular travel.
Okay, and the last question I have for you is that the vehicles fall under the purview of Mr. Vino, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the mileage, who does that fall under the purview?
Request for mileage reimbursement is submitted to HR, approved there, and then paid by financial
HR.
services.
Okay, we'll have more questions, but let me go down the list here. Elizabeth Foyt, did you have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did I understand you correctly in saying that there is no existing employment agreement or contract in force for these employees, the executive council employees?
Yes, that's correct. These positions began receiving employment contracts in 1999 when the director at that time implemented them. And the last contracts that were provided for these positions was in 2008 when an HR director and a new development director began. And the general services director at that time, I believe, received a new contract. And that's when he also received a $100 monthly car allowance as part of his contract. And they did last.
No, I want to know, is there a document? Does someone sign when they are hired? Is it a renewed contract with annual reviews and such?
They typically had 5-year terms. So in 2008, those were the last contracts that were provided, and they expired by 2013.
So there is no annual contract as there is in many other positions. Okay. My second question is, am I correct in thinking there are 11 individuals, excluding our executive director, who are receiving this stipend?
Probably, I'd say 10, and that's in flux because there are vacancies there. For example, there are the 8 members of the executive council that are receiving the car allowance, and then there were 2 regional branch services. You're correct, 2, that would make 10, plus the assistant library operations director would make 11. But I just clarified that there currently is only 1 position for the regional branch services manager.
Okay, but it's sitting there, as a slot to be filled. Oh, well, I think we really need to investigate this a little further. The part about not having an employment agreement that at least has a 2-year span, a 5-year span does not make me comfortable. I don't know how my fellow board members feel, but in other positions, be it the school district, be it the county, be it and so on, and I'm not talking about people whether they belong to an organized union or assemblage of employees. I think I'd like to see employment agreements or contracts in place and the duties of the position spelled out more clearly. And I would like to see that shared with the board. And I would like perhaps fellow board members to speak on this subject. Maybe I'm inappropriate, but it's been a real eye-opener to me to see the amount of money that we're spending in that direction, as well as then discovering that we don't have a contract in place or an employment agreement with the people that are our management team, and they are managers, not executives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, your thoughts or comments on this issue?
You know what? I'm still trying to digest information. If you could go to other trustees
Sure.
and come back to me.
Thank you. Trustee Shannon Raymaker, any questions or comments?
Well, I too would like to see some actual duties of what's required. And I mean, I was just amazed to see the amount of money that we pay for a car allowance. I think it needs to be relooked at and assigned along with the duties, and maybe not everybody should be getting the same kind of amount, but I would like to see the duties assigned and a relook at these costs.
Thank you very much. So those requests go to the director. Robin Wadley-Munier, your questions or comments?
Well, when you figure that out, that's $52,800 a year that we're paying in car allowances. And this past year, how many months did people work from home? So if we still paid that car allowance, shame on us that that was done. If we don't have a contract or something signed saying that we indeed need to pay that. But a bigger concern that I have, especially since we've had to, not do improvements and much needed improvements in libraries, and we had to change plans that we were doing for a bookmobile and other things at the beginning of all of this with our budget because of COVID, things that the community really needs. That really upsets me, that expenditure. But more than that, if we have people driving in their personal vehicles, getting a mileage, that means that we're approving that. And if they're not carrying extra insurance on their vehicle, then we're in trouble because the state requires a very minimum coverage compared to other states and stuff as far as accident and insurance, uninsured motorists and so on. So if someone's involved in an accident, and you never know when, I've been T-boned twice and rear-ended once in the last 5 years and, was sitting still at a red light. So you just never know when something's going to happen. It doesn't have to be negligence on the part of the driver or an employee of the district, but they're going to come after the district and money. And it doesn't matter if they win or lose, it costs money to fight that. And then of course, you have that problem. I always used my personal car the 15 years I worked at the city. Because I didn't want to have to wait for checking out a vehicle, but I carried an additional insurance because I had a member of the council in my car 99.9% of the time, and I didn't ever, and we were once rear-ended. And so I'm talking from experience of what can happen. And that really, really scares me that we're doing that because we are basically saying, we are validating this, we are sanctioning this. And so we're liable, and some people can just sue for the fun of suing, and it's scary, very scary. And I think I agree with the other two colleagues. We need this much more in depth, and I feel very negligent that in the last 10 years that I've sat on this board, this has not come to more of my attention and has not been dug into. But I thank one of my colleagues for doing so, and shame on all of us, paid and unpaid board and members of staff. This is not good. This does not look well for the library district. I don't think at all. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake, any questions or comments?
I'm sorry, I don't remember the gentleman who made the comment at the beginning of the session tonight, but I have heard several other library employees who asked me about this particular issue, saying about the same thing. They're being asked to maybe not even get a raise for the next year, and a number of other cutbacks in their particular branches and things like that. And then they see this where this group of 10 or 11 or 12 or how many it ever is are getting an extra $8,000-9,000 a year. That's several car payments, maybe all of your car payments. So I don't think it looks good for us. It doesn't look good for us. And I agree with Robin. Shame on us for not being aware of this over all the years that we've been sitting here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Brian Wilson, any questions or comments?
Yes. To those from public comment, believe me, we hear you. Question, these vehicles, the two that we have sitting available, what is the lifespan of these vehicles and what do they cost?
Acting General Services Director. We have two Ford Escorts. we rotate our vehicles out every 12 years unless there's excessive miles on a vehicle. And an Escort was probably around 26,000 for a Ford Escort. We buy them through the state contract, so we don't have to bid them. They bid them out for us.
In the sake of making math simple, let's round it to $2,000 a year of purchasing cost for that car. And operating cost?
Just the gas, and we
just
have our
the
own
gas,
gas
yeah.
pumps. We do. There's minor maintenance. Usually our vehicles are in good shape.
Okay, so in fuel, I don't know the kind of vehicles we do, but if we're getting 12 years out of them, we got to keep our mileage can't be crazy on these two cars. It's got to be fairly low.
Correct.
Would it be safe to assume that we're spending less than 2,000 in vehicle and gas, or roughly 2,000 in vehicle?
I'd say that's fair.
Okay, so
Depends on usage. Right?
okay, yeah, we're just trying to pick round numbers. So let's go high and call it 2,000 for the purchasing cost and 3,000 a year in fuel to operate it. And we're rounding up here. So it costs us $5,000 a year per vehicle, and we're spending almost 60,000 a year in vehicle allowances. Thank you for the answer to the question, because that was the part that I needed to know to tie this together for my issue. This is, for me, Chair, this is one of the reasons that the public does not trust government. This is outrageous. This is exactly what the kind of thing that makes taxpayers furious. Out of the members or the employees, the staff that get this, the 10, 11 employees, how many of them are over six-figure income employees? Half, all?
As of right now, likely all of them.
Okay. So six-figure plus income employees. We as a board get paid $40 to drive down here, spend our time here and come. $40 for the trip. The average that you documented for the employees here is about 3.5 trips a month. So we're paying six-figure employees $100 every time on average that they turn the car on in the name of the library, in place of vehicles that we could be putting ourselves in the parking lot for $5,000 a year or less. It's absolutely nauseating to me. I just want to put another thing of the abuse and the abuse that's gone on here. And I'm not blaming the current staff. This is a problem that goes back 20 years. This is horrible. $150 in 1999. Inflation since then till today is 59%. So had they only upped the vehicle allowance based on inflation from 99 until today, it would be $238. Yet magically it's $400. If that isn't flat stealing from the taxpayer because no one was looking, I don't know what is. And again, I do not blame the staff. I blame the management and the directors who put this in place going back 20 years ago. It's absolutely disgusting to me that they would take this kind of abuse of the public's trust. There's no reason, in my opinion, that we should do anything more other than the federal government sets an annual guideline of mileage. It was 57.5 cents last year. As of January 1st this year, it's 56 cents because of reduced cost of operating a vehicle. There is no reason anybody outside of our executive director, who's got his own specific contract, that any employee should get anything other than the federal reimbursed vehicle mileage allowed. We shouldn't have to ever vote on it again. We should be able to put this policy in place, and every year it's just adjusted to whatever the new rate is for that year. And inflation's calculated in, expenses are all calculated in, it's done for us and out of our hands, and the public doesn't have to worry about questioning our ethics or morals on handing out cushy bonuses to six-figure staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, any questions or comments?
I think my fellow board member just said it really well. And I know that as a state employee, that 56 cents reimbursement is standard. So yeah, I would say we need to revisit this policy and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Keith Rogers, Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments?
Yeah, and I would just say I think that we probably should devote our attention not trying to investigate the past, but rather look to what we need to do moving forward, because, and establish whatever criteria needs to be for someone to get a mileage reimbursement and just move forward, rather than trying to do all this other investigative work that's going to tie a lot of time, and when we can't change that anyway. And if we're leaning toward just doing a mileage reimbursement and doing away with allowances, that we focus on that personally.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides.
I agree with my fellow trustees. I think we've all been on the same page on this.
Thank you. Trustee Shannon Bilberry Axelrod.
I'm sure that you have comments as well, Chair. Am I the last person before you?
Yes, I'll get the last comment.
Okay, so a couple of things stood out to me. One, I heard that in 2015, the director added several people onto the $400 a month car allowance. That did not go in front of the board. That sounded like that was just an executive decision. If you add up how much that is, I think that would that should come in front of the board. That being said, I'm looking at the recommended action, and one of the recommended action, number 3, is to eliminate the car allowance benefits for district employees effective the payroll period February 2021. I, as a legislator, use the IRS reimbursement when I'm working for the state. That's what we get. I think that we can do this recommended action tonight and move on. That would be what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do have a couple comments and then we'll move forward with the motion. For the 2 individuals that sent in their notes, I want to say this correctly. First of all, comparing wages to this, we cannot do that. I'll remind the employees, they got paid for 4 months for being at home and not working. We could have put you in unemployment in line there. We didn't. We chose to help you out. So please don't use that as a comparison. I get it. This is a problem. Okay? This is a problem. And for Trustee Wilson, I would ask if he would amend his comments. You use the word stealing. You have to have willful intent. We don't know what the intent was a director ago, 2 directors ago, 10 directors ago. So I understand your passion. This is a problem, but I'm not sure that I personally would choose that word on what has happened. And it may be metaphorical, which is okay. But if you don't want to amend your statement, that's okay. But I don't think it was stealing. I think it was.
No, Chair, you got it's a metaphor. You identified it correctly.
Thank you very much. So for the record, this is a problem again. And again, the people that receive this benefit, it's the directors, the previous one and the ones before that made this decision. So having said that and having heard all that, and thank you for your comments, please continue to make comments. We're not offended. That's what we need to hear from you, okay? I guess there's 2 things. One, we can stop completely the mileage reimbursement and have them submit. So that's the first motion that somebody can make. Or we can send it back to the director to vet this out a little bit more and tell us whether he wants to purchase more vehicles to be made available, or passes back to the director and have a conversation with our chief financial officer to see what better mechanism there is to have all of these employees get their mileage submitted and paid for it quickly. And lastly, included in all that, I think probably one of the directors really should have a car, the one that has all the libraries that he goes visit. Mr. Segura, either have him, a car assigned to him directly would be my request, because Mr. Segura, his role is to go to every library and respond, and maybe the assistant director have 2 vehicles that we buy. That's something I'll kick back to the director to look at. Because putting mileages on your car, that's one thing. After a while, it becomes de minimis. It's better to have a government vehicle to use. And so having said that, I'll entertain any motion.
Chair, could I try an attempt at a 2-part motion?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Could I ask a question for clarification, fellow trustee?
Absolutely.
Yes, go ahead.
Some of the things you suggested could be further actions in next month's agenda. Is that not correct, Chair?
I think trustee, Aldemine, I think you'll be happy with the motion.
Okay. I just want you
Let me
to-
try the motion first and then
Okay,
see if
all
your
right.
question still holds. I move that effective the payroll period, February 20th, the $400 monthly car allowance is terminated and replaced with a standard IRS mileage adjusted annually per the federal guidelines. So currently 56 cents per mile. I further move that our new director evaluate the necessity or financial benefit to the district of adding additional cars to our fleet for staff to use, and turn it over to the director to determine what is financially best in the best interest of the district.
Could you guys two separate motions, please?
Hang on,
Okay.
hang on one second. Is that your motion?
Yes,
I'll
our
second.
council asked us to split into two separate motions.
Two separate motions, okay.
Okay.
So two separate motions. The first motion is to terminate and replace, terminate the mileage and replace it with the standard mileage reimbursement. I know it's worded a little bit differently. Ms. Allison, can you have that down? Did you write that fast?
It's standard IRS.
Let her read.
Motion effective February 20th, eliminate $400 car allowance and replace with standard IRS mileage
And add the word reimbursement.
for reimbursement.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Sandra Raymaker. Let's go ahead and go do a vote. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. And the second motion, if you read that second part, Ms. Ellison?
This one I may ask for clarification, Trustee Wilson. Motion to direct executive director to evaluate adding additional vehicles to the district's fleet.
To determine if the extra vehicles would be more beneficial financially than having a separate car allowance.
Feasibility.
Yeah, the feasibility. Thank you. Feasibility, good word. Evaluate for their feasibility.
Of adding more vehicles to our fleet. That motion is made by Brian Wilson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robin Wadley Munier.
Okay, but I do have a question.
Okay, questions on the motion? Go ahead, Robin.
Well, you said we only have two of our existing vehicles designated for usage for our executive or the directors and the different departments, but we could allocate more of the vehicles that are sitting here. Did I understand that correctly? Or am I interpreting that incorrectly?
We have two vehicles that are available for
Always.
reservation for anybody that would need them.
But
The other vehicles are assigned to technicians, so they pretty much go out on an everyday basis. You know, the WOW vehicles and the tech vehicles and IT vehicles, or courier vehicles, those are used every day for library business.
okay. I wanted to clear that point up in case it wasn't clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions on the motion? Okay, let's call for the motion.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So basically what you're saying is there are two vehicles that are kind of up for grabs for people that might need them at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. So Director, if you do us a favor and do an evaluation of an increase of the fleet to determine whether it's financially more viable. Thank you very much. Okay, painless. Thank you. At this time, we'll have a presentation and discussion of touring items of the Las Vegas Clark County Library District's permanent art collection. Please identify yourself for the record.
Chair Ortiz, Board of Trustees, Mr. Watson, and Council Welt, good evening. For the record, my name is Matt McNally, Community Engagement Director. Before I begin, I'd like to introduce Darren Johnson, who is joining us tonight online. Darren's there, he can wave, you can see him there. Darren and one additional staff member are responsible for the operation and the scheduling of approximately 75 art exhibitions annually in 14 fine art galleries. These are located all throughout the district. He's also responsible for the management of 463 items in the library district's permanent art collection and programs that advance the fine arts, such as artist receptions and art educational offerings. So when appropriate, I just love to brag about our staff, so please indulge me for just a moment. In each of the past 4 years, the library district art galleries have won the Best of awards in local publication reader polls. Most recently, in 2018, the library district's art galleries won gold in the Las Vegas Review Journal's Las Vegas Review Journal newspaper Best of Las Vegas Art Gallery category, and also the Las Vegas Weekly Best of Vegas Art Destination category. The library district's curation of art and our connections to artists have fostered great respect within our local community. This is largely in part due to the consistent work of staff members B. Aspinall and Darren Johnson, and I just wanted to say great work, team. Yeah. Tonight's presentation is based on a plan developed by Darren's abilities, thoughtfulness, and his leadership efforts. Should any members of the board have questions following the presentation, either Darren or myself will be happy to answer any specific matters that arise. So the library district's permanent art collection represents both emerging and established artists, ranging from local to internationally known. The collection focuses on a variety of techniques. It shows a range of mediums, and it really represents a wide variety of subject matter associated with the cultural background of Las Vegas communities. Almost all items of the library district's permanent collection were at one time donated. Just a few items were commissioned for a specific purpose, and some were purchased with nominal fees paid through a purchase award in the earlier days of the department. In October of 2020, staff received a suggestion to tour artwork of the library district's permanent collection to numerous library branches. Currently, 30 permanent pieces of art are displayed in the administration lobby of the Windmill Service Center. These items have been on display for approximately 9 years. Staff recently considered changing out this art, and timing was good to evaluate the idea of touring that artwork throughout the library district. Doing so would really bring more awareness to the permanent collection, and the diversity of items would likely appeal to many of our patrons. So what seems like a simple idea can often have many challenges. This initiative is no different. So staff spent time to review and evaluate the feasibility. A plan was formed that would tour 25 of the 30 items to all urban library branches after starting the tour at Mesquite Library. Some pieces are just simply too large for transport or to fit on most of our art gallery walls. Others are sculptures that weigh over 200 pounds, and they require some custom pedestals, which are very difficult for us to move. And some of the items are just very fragile and have such a historical significance that the risk of permanent damage to these items would be significant by touring them. And so touring them is really ill-advised. Some items have been excluded or limited to tour in the plan for these reasons. Now, considerations such as replacing the existing artwork with other library district permanent artwork, the transportation logistics of touring the items, insurance coverage, security, the physical condition of each item, and the functionality of our differing art galleries to host the items, including size variation challenges and possible exposure to repetitive natural elements like sunlight was given. Staff has considered and addressed each area to protect and share this artwork. Staff also considered that touring these items would have one negative effect. Touring the library district's permanent artwork would provide less opportunity for other artists to exhibit their own work. Art exhibitions are often scheduled about 12 to 18 months in advance, and that's done from a rolling wait list of artist applicants and partners. Touring the permanent collection will delay a few opportunities from the public to display their work. The current artists that are waiting to exhibit will really be unaffected, as staff members have already scheduled their showings. but future artists may have to wait just slightly longer to exhibit as the permanent collection tour is infused into the schedule of our current normal exhibitions. So the Library District's art galleries range in size from about 300 square feet to 4,000 square feet. Within the plan, items have been uniquely chosen to maximize exposure to the public and fill each art gallery to capacity. We anticipate that an average size gallery can accommodate about 12 to 18 of the 30 items at a time. The tour would begin in May of 2021, and items will typically be displayed for approximately 8 to 10 weeks per gallery, and that coincides with the availability that's already established within the exhibition schedule. The artwork would then be removed, it would be stored at the Windmill Service Center, and installed in the next gallery as scheduled, and displayed again for approximately 8 to 10 weeks. The pattern would continue until all galleries have hosted the tour. And we expect that the tour could last until 2024 due to scheduling demands. At this time, I believe the initiative can be accomplished with existing staff and that the needs of the project can be absorbed into their regular staff responsibilities. As the tour is executed over the next few months, staff will also work with our branding and marketing department to promote the tour. So there is, we're expecting very little impact as far as cost or as far as staff implications. So understanding the simplicity of the request and the complexity of the plan, staff believes that the tour would serve the public well, and we intend to execute the plan as outlined. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, either Darren or I would be happy to address those at this time.
I have a comment.
Hang on one second, let me go around the list.
Okay, it's important.
Jose Luis Melendez, do you have any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not.
Okay, Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Vice Chair Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, do you have any questions or comments?
Not.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Elizabeth Foyt.
That's
Trustee
fine.
Foyt?
Matt did not mention it, but this came at my suggestion. It disturbs me to see that we have some really beautiful pieces that are never seen by the public because they're secured by several doors that a normal individual using the library, supporting the library, and of course, taxpayers don't see because they're not in that area. I like to see things exhibited. I have a nice art collection of my own. I have supported local and national artists both, and I do believe in public showings. I am a little surprised at the length of the exhibit. I kind of envisioned something maybe closer to 30 days, but that's your determining factor. And if it flies, but I'm very pleased to see this going forth. I am aware that some of the pieces just aren't going to be moved. You know, that happens. I'd also like to see perhaps more on display in general areas, in lobbies and such, on a permanent or rotating basis. We own these, but these are part of a public trust, and because of that, the public should be seeing them. Not just in a collection necessarily, but on display in our facilities. Art enriches all our lives, and without exposure to it, you can't enrich. So bravo in going forth with this, and
thank you, Trustee Foyt. If I may
success.
respond.
Yes, certainly.
Great. So thank you. I didn't want to steal your thunder. So just for information purposes, of the 463 items that are in our permanent art collection, about 2/3 of them are currently displayed and not in storage. So I'm not sure what the exact breakdown is, but most of them are available to the public in all of our libraries. In fact, Darren and his team just recently installed some artwork even at Good Springs Library, and we found opportunities to make those available to the public.
Excellent.
Thank you. Trustee Senator Raymaker, any questions or comments?
Well, I just think it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to being able to see these pieces out. So thank you for moving forward with this.
Thank you very much. Trustee Robin Guadalupe.
Well, I appreciate Trustee Foyt for bringing this to our attention. And I think it's very, very commendable, the work that you've done to begin this sharing with the community. And I especially like the idea of rotating some of these pieces because, as Trustee Foyt said, the enrichment, I'm thinking of the young people that are coming into our libraries, and more our libraries become refuge for a lot of the latchkey kids and other things, you know, and this will pick up again after the COVID vaccine is readily available to everyone. And I think it's so important because the school district here is really looking to eliminate libraries in the schools as well as the arts and so on due to financial constraints. So I'm not saying they're for sure doing it, but it's certainly on the chopping block, so to speak. So I think that you're stepping in and filling a wonderful void there. And I really appreciate you taking this to heart and your staff again for the work they're doing in this. And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Trustee Marilyn Francis Trigg.
Well, both of these things speak to my heart. Art major, library science minor, and then library science master's degree. So got them blended together well. And as you know, both Rodney and I love coming to your art openings. We attend almost every one of them that we can. And I'm so looking forward to some in the future, hopefully not so distant future. So thank you, and Darren and Matt, or you're Matt, and B for all they do. It's always fun seeing you and seeing them, even seeing them put up a new display at the Sahara Library. It's always interesting and fun to talk to you all and to work with you. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much, Trustee Brian Wilson. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I love this idea. I'm so glad that Trustee Foyt brought it forward. I love our galleries to begin with, but there's a difference when, you see, hey, come see the stuff that you own, the taxpayer. Come see your stuff. Just come see your collection instead of going to see. I mean, it's nice to go see art anywhere in general and see the different collections rotate through. But there's just something special about going and seeing what's part of the public history, the public trust with it. I can't wait to see what marketing and branding does with this and tries to get people and exposed and more feet in the doors to the different branches. Just to, again, it's another thing that libraries aren't just books, and this is just wonderful marketing opportunity again.
So thank you very much. This is an item that is just for presentation and discussion. Thank you, Mr. McAnally. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is a presentation and discussion on the district's leave accrual rates for staff. Mr. Serpico, will please identify yourself for the record.
Jeffrey Serpico, Director of Human Resources. Good evening, Chair Ortiz, Board of Trustees, Director Watson. Item 9C is an overview of the district's accrued time off plan, which consists of a vacation plan and a sick plan. Eligible employees, these are the plans that are applicable to the Executive Council, exempt staff, and non-exempt staff. There aren't any different plans. You see the vacation plan. Full-time employees accrue at the full rates, which you'll see on the second page of this document. Part-time employees, which are 29 hours or less, accrue at a prorated amount. Whether you're exempt or non-exempt, they accrue at those amounts. For the sick plan, it's only full-time employees, whether you're exempt or non-exempt. If you turn to the next page, it's my next page, I'm not sure if it is, you can see the accrual rates that up to 10 years, you accrue 5.55 hours of vacation per pay period, which is every 2 weeks. That equates to about 18 days a year. If you have greater than 10 years, you do see graduated plans in the market. I'll refer to the market as the external comparisons. You go up to 7.4 hours at 10 years. That's 24 days a year. You're allowed to carry over hours, which is typical of these accrued time off plans, of 320 hours a year, which is 40 days. Sick time, which is a separate part of this accrued time off, you accrue 3.7 hours, which is 12 days a year. There's no maximum carryover for that, but there are limitations on its use. It has to meet certain criteria. There are bonus days that can be earned for full-time staff. that if they use less than 40 hours of sick time a year on their anniversary date, they are awarded 40 additional hours. And then there's a floating holiday for staff that has to be used within the calendar year, and I believe you have to be hired before July 1st of that year, but I can verify that. And that's 1 day a year of 8 hours. These plans are documented in the District Policies and Procedures Manual, the collective bargaining agreements, and then also the district website. We provide that in the careers section. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Serpico. I actually asked this to be brought forward, and I do have some comments at the end, but let me start from the top. Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I appreciate this a lot. I think there was a lot of misconception on how this structure went, and I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I appreciate you for asking for it, Chair.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments on this?
No comments at this time, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you for sharing the information.
Thank you. Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments? I'm sorry, Jose Luis Melendres, do you have any questions or comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions or comments?
So the vacation carries over with a cap. The sick days carry over unlimited. Did I just understand that right?
Unlimited, yes, but there's
restricted on
restrictions.
use.
Yeah, and also restrictions on payout. You know, if those get paid out upon termination, any portion of that, I can bring that back and forward that.
Okay, yeah, that was the only piece I was missing, is that what happened at the end with it.
Yeah, which is typical of plans.
Thank you very much, Trustee Marilyn Francis Drake.
Oh, nothing at all, but thank you for the information.
Thank you very much. Robin Wadimie, trustee, any questions or comments?
So if an employee works 20 years and they never use their sick pay, they can get all that at the end of the 20 years?
It's paid out at percentage tiers. I will have to bring that back. You don't receive it all, no.
Okay, because that wasn't included in your report.
I will forward that amount, what the
Yeah.
payout provisions are.
Okay, because most organizations and even bureaucracies and such have put caps on that and do not, because when they've had people retire and stuff in waves, like in 2007, 8, it was financially a burden that was almost impossible to bear with someone 15 years had never been sick a day and, had accrued all of that. So again, it'd be interesting to have that information if you could.
I will provide that.
That's my only comment at this time.
Sure, thank you. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt.
It was very informative. Speaking to what Trustee Wadling Renee said, I'm aware that at least with the school district, our local school district, that they have a pool. It's a finite amount of days, and it therefore caps among those who are retiring at that time. So even if you may have earned 138 days, you may only end up getting paid for 87 or something to that effect. That may or may not be ever effective for us, but it's food for thought.
It may be comparative in terms of the percentage payouts. And then some organizations have actually combined it into one bank. Those are the type of things that maybe for the future, prior to going into any agreements or contracts, that we do a survey of time off practices in public agencies. But that's for a future discussion item.
Certainly. Well, thank you for the information too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Raymaker, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. I have a couple of problems. I have a problem with no maximum on sick pay on the hours. And I would like to know what the tiers are paying out. I think by not having a maximum, and the fact that we also give them a bonus, give people a bonus for not being sick, it's great that people want to come to work and there's this extra. But I think this also allows people to come to work, be sick, and other people get sick. The vacation, I think the being able to carry over that many hours, I think that's poor mental health issues for employees. I think employees need to take time off and need to be encouraged to take time off instead of just keeping these hours. So those are my concerns.
I would like to, if I can, that some employees who may not have the appropriate levels of disability coverage, they may use this as a bank in case they get sick, the additional hours. Because once you exhaust your sick time, you can go into your vacation. And if they can keep those extra hours around, sometimes that can help staff.
Thank you very much, Trustee Raymaker. I brought this forward concern for like 4 areas, and I'll try to be brief. Under this plan, an employee starts at $14 an hour, ends up at $38 an hour. When they retire 30 years later, we're paying them out $200,000 to $300,000. That's unsustainable, and it's reported publicly every July 1st. Secondly, we're moving, I use the word kicking, but we're moving employees to the PERS system, and now we're giving the public again the challenge of paying that employee until they die, right? Because there's a commitment. We hire you, we pay you until you die. That's why you're a government employee. So it really is, it's not good policy. I agree and echo Trustee Raymaker, it's bad policy. Ask a person that's retired, don't let this job kill you. Take the time off, take the sick leave, take the vacation. And what I'm seeing with these numbers is that nobody's doing that. And so toward the end, I've seen too many friends, family members retire. A couple years later, they're gone. God calls them. They should have taken the time off. It's not worth it. I can't force them. I can't tell them they're going to do what they can do. But our policies move to that area. Well, heck, if you don't call in sick, we'll give you another day. It should be the other way around. So I think it's bad policy. And so it just, the amount of money that a person can accrue, and again, if you start at $14 an hour, or 18, let's say, and then you're accruing, when we pay out 30 years later, we're not paying at $18 an hour, we're paying out at $32, $38, $40 an hour. So that's a disconnect for me. There's no way to capture you're in this amount, so we're going to pay you at 14, these amount of hours at 20, and so on. When you retire, you're paid at the higher rate, when in fact, that's not when they earn those hours. So that's the disconnect for me. And so I would, since this is an item just for discussion, I would ask the director to take a look at this along with Mr. Serpico to see what other plans are out there where we can take a look at it. Now, for the staff listening, please listen very carefully. There's other ways for you to benefit. The city, if you contribute up to $4,000, they'll give you $4,000 in a 401k, right? That's one way. And it limits your taxes. You can't take the money until after 5 years, right? If you stay 5 years, you get it. If you leave, you don't get it. You get just your portion. PERS, there's the employer paid or employer paid, right? And so there's a lot of ways to deal with it so that you benefit as an employee. But my concern is that we're moving too many employees to PERS at a higher rate. And that's not fair to the PERS. That's a public employees retirement system. And number two, the rates, when we pay them out, we're paying them at the ending rate and not at the starting rate. So that would be my request, Director Watson, is for you to take a look at this and come back with some options.
Hey, Chair.
And come up with some options, and it may be that we're stuck with this option, and that's okay. I'll live with it. But that's something maybe in a couple months to come back, or actually before the union contracts come up, because that's also something that we have to take an account for. And again, we're not trying to take money away. We're a creature of the state. We have to report. It's publicly reported. You type in your name on Transparent Nevada, you'll find out how much you make. Everybody, it's given up. Mr. Wilson, you had a question or comment?
Yeah, just on what you had said about, they're hired at one rate and then they retire 30 years later at a different rate. Is there a system in where it's possible that when somebody gets a raise, if their pay goes up 10%, their days that are sitting in the bank go down by the equal percent? So when they get to the end of the road, it eventually works out to be what they're taking out of the bank was what it was put in it?
I don't know. I think the solution is going to be giving an assignment to Mr. Serpico through you, Mr. Watson. But he's probably going to have to meet with the somebody with the public employees retirement system so they can kind of give you a better option. They're really good at telling us how much you're going to get when you leave. And so that may be something that he's going to have to sit with them. And same with whoever negotiates our union contracts to see if there's a better way to get people money that they need right now and they can leave with it that doesn't impact, at least from my perspective, the public employees retirement system. It may be a 401k or 457k, or it may be that we limit the amount of carryover so that our payouts are not $200,000 to $300,000 when they retire. I know everybody wants to get that amount of money. I get it. Don't throw errors at me. But this is government money, and we really have to be transparent. We are transparent, and we have to be accountable. So that's my request. Does anybody else have any more comments? Okay, so this is not an action item, but I would request that maybe before the next union contract and maybe a couple months, if you can send Mr. Serpico down to, or have him speak with PERS, it's going to learn a lot. And then don't leave us after you learn a lot. Thank you, Mr. Serpico. The next item is a discussion of possible board action on the compensation and benefits overview proposed by the compensation analysis of the Executive Council. Please identify yourself for the record.
Jeffrey Serpico, Director of Human Resources. Good evening, Chairman Ortiz, Board of Trustees, Director Watson. At the last Board of Trustees meeting, there was a great bit of discussion regarding pay increases for the Executive Committee, how those worked, the movement of pay ranges. I did go back and we did a historical breakdown of what's happened since the year 2017. You can see that the district has mirrored the collective bargaining agreements for the executive group, and I'm using executive interchangeably with senior leadership or directors. For managing annual compensation adjustments, and these annual adjustments were in the forms of COLAs, which are cost of living adjustments, which adjust for inflation, changes in the labor market, and then merits, which are typically performance-driven individual increases. You can go back and you can see from 2017 to 2022 for the future, what's on the board for adjustments. And the 2021 and 2022 is still subject to approval. In 2017, we did a 2% COLA, a 3% merit, and at that time, we adjust the pay structure. When you adjust the pay structure, there's a footnote there. You move the minimum, the midpoint, and maximum of the pay range. That's designed so people don't top out. But again, your pay range is kind of a salary control mechanism. And it may not be typical to see pay ranges move every time you do adjustments, COLAs. They may move every 3 years. So this is something we may want to consider looking at in the future, and you'll see that on the next page. 2018, 2% COLA, the pay range moved 2%, 3% merit. 2020, because of the COVID virus, there was an agreement to freeze and then add the adjustments back on at the end for 2022, if approved. And again, the agreement is for a salary structure adjustment of 3% to match the COLA for both of those years. And those are agreements that come out of the CBA. Are there any questions on the historical portion of this?
So Mr. Serpico, I had asked for this to come forward because we were told that, okay, an employee is hired. Some employees got a contract, others didn't. And so there was a minimum range and a maximum range. The employee got hired knowing that. And so 5 directors ago, probably, or 4 directors ago, so the employee's getting the regular cost of living plus a wage increase. Then 4 directors ago, and I don't know if it's 4 or 5, they said, well, that's not enough. Let's go ahead and move the range. So they kept giving themselves increases without our approval. Now, this wouldn't be a concern if it was a lower level employee. This is a concern of people making 130 and above, right? Because when you move somebody at 30,000 as opposed to 130, it's a big difference.
Correct.
And then again, the retirement portion, moving them on to PERS, right, at a higher rate. And again, I'd like to be there. Trust me, I've never made that kind of money. But that's not, we have a fiduciary duty here, a financial duty to be responsible. So having heard that, having said that, excuse me, I do have a couple more comments, but also, Liz Melendez, did you have any questions or comments on this presentation?
No, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Rogers, did you have any questions or comments on this presentation?
No, I do not.
Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments on this presentation?
No, I don't.
Okay. Trustee Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, if you're still online, do you have any questions or comments?
Shannon should be on the phone. Trustee Bilberry Axelrod should be on the phone.
Okay.
But
okay, we'll come back to her. Trustee Brian Wilson, do you have any questions or comments?
Couple of questions. So the COLA, that's obvious. The percent structure agreement, that's going up right along with the COLA every year. Well, in most of the years here that you've listed. The merit pay, is that automatic or is it actually merit based?
It's tied to your performance evaluation, yes.
So it's up to 3%. It's not an
I
automatic.
believe that's an average. of 3%.
Okay, averages out at 3%. Okay. That was the clarification, is if it was really longevity pay versus merit pay. So
Does it go beyond 3%?
I would have to pull the records to see. I mean, theoretically, if somebody received a 4%, somebody's getting a 2, or other people are getting less. But I believe that's an average. I would have to pull the payroll records to see that, but that can be done. On the next page, I do make some recommendations. So
okay. I think we definitely want to be paying employees to stay long. I mean, that's in our interest to have people here that know what they're doing and are dedicated to it. But I also realize that what the chairs pointed out here, there's a pretty big disconnect between, say, the consumer price index, which is probably the best measure we have, that, 1.8% in 2019, and we effectively, not counting the merit, gave an average of 4% in that same year, 2% COLA and a 2% pay structure bump. So, I mean, we're doubling the cost of living plus giving their merit pay. So that's kind of like I see where the chair brings up the concern of this getting double dipped and really adding up over the long run.
apologies. Floresto just corrected me. It's a straight 3%, which is something for the merit, Floresto? Which is something we should add to looking at.
Oh, yeah, then that now we're talking about this as longevity pay, not merit pay, which again, I'm not opposed to the longevity pay because we want long-term employees. What I struggle with is what you pointed out, that the double dip of a COLA plus bump the pay scale. Well, it's one or the other. We can't keep doing both forever without running ourselves broke down the road. That was it.
Thank you, Trustee Mellon Francis Drake.
No questions.
Okay, Trustee Robin Wadley Munoz.
Well, I would like to echo that concern that you expressed, as well as Trustee Wilson. We cannot continue to do what we're doing. Not that it was a bad thing that we did, because many bureaucracies within our own community did that, but most of them discontinued this back during the downturn in 2007, 8, and so on. Most all of them did. Some more eagerly than others, but reluctantly almost all did. And again, I'm really kind of embarrassed that we didn't realize this ourselves, and that this was not addressed sooner. So I really would like to see something done to change this, because this is just padding. I don't want to use a bad euphemism or whatever, but metaphor. But I do think that this needs attention quickly, and not in a couple of months. I would like to see something brought back next month.
Okay. Trustee Elizabeth Foyt.
I like the idea of further scrutiny. I think with your background, Mr. Serpico, I think you have the ability to provide us with some options and some changes. You've worked in enough systems to be able to do that. And I want us to be held to the public trust because we are a citizen board and we want to serve our public as best as we can. Thank you.
Trustee Senator Remaker.
Well, I agree with all these different things. I have a problem with a set COLA amount. I think it needs to be looked at on a regular basis every year, that it's whatever the national or index, federal, whatever it is, that it should be set, the same. Merit races, to this doesn't look to me like this is a true merit race. And if we're going to give merit raises, then there should definitely be a look at as to, are they meeting the certain requirements and what kind of percentage they're actually giving. I don't like the structure adjustment. That's, it's me saying I'm going to get this amount this year, and well, I know next year you're going to move it up no matter what, plus you're going to give me a COLA and you're going to give me a merit, and I think this is all wrong. So I would like to see some other options.
I do have a couple more comments real quick. And so for the employees listening in this category, not the union, for the employees in this category, there's other ways to give you raises. Give you a $15,000 bonus that's not tied to your retirement. Give you 3 weeks of vacation to cash out that's not tied to your retirement. You follow where I'm going with this? So there's a lot of ways to do this. There's 20,000, thank you very much. There's 15,000, but it doesn't tie and continually to escalate a system that's unsustainable. I was very good at math a long time ago. I'm still pretty good right now, but it's just really unsustainable. Not for us. We'll be gone off these boards, but 20 years from now, somebody's going to pay the price and having to respond. How did this get out of hand? And our names are going to be on it. So, having said that, I'd like to do two things. First, one is a request that this be, first the motion. I'd like to motion that I'd like to move that.
Chair, did you call on me and did I just not hear it?
Yes, go ahead, Shannon Bilberry Axelrod.
Oh, and I just, I don't really have much to say except that thank you for making my last meeting so, light and airy. You guys have a lot to work on, and I'll be watching you. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, did we want to cover the proposed also?
Oh, yes, tell us,
Yeah.
please, sorry.
I was always taught, don't bring a problem without a solution. So I wanted to put forth, especially for the EC members, because that's, whether you're in a not-for-profit or government, there's a lot of scrutiny around senior level leader pay. Right now, we would propose the development of a formal plan as part of a bigger plan to review all of the staff, compensation rates for comparable industries, public agencies and library systems of similar size, looking at national, regional, and metropolitan data, presenting the 25th, 50th, and 75th percentile for those benchmark jobs, looking at the range spreads. Right now, our ranges are pretty wide. You don't normally see ranges that wide. Structure recommendations. How often should you adjust the structure? And how do you tie that to inflation? Assessment of fair market value as it is for all EC positions. Are we paying at the 50th percentile? Are we at the 75th? Are we at the 90th? Because when you start to get up past the 75th percentile, you should start to worry about where you're at. Recommended senior leadership compensation processes, an annual calendar for reviewing those jobs, presenting those jobs to the board with any recommended increases, which would be done by the executive director, and seeking approval for those, and showing where they're at in relation to those key percentiles. That would be part of that calendar, reviewing that, and then seeking annual board approval for any of those adjustments. Also, with the third party reviewing this with us, a survey of any incentive or bonus practices. I know the car allowance perk that just came out, we would be able to see who else is doing those practices, if anybody, if we're out of line with the market. Benefits for comparable industries and organizations, Right now, I had listed the covered positions there, which are considered part of the EC, allowing for executive input on whether those roles change or those titles change. But this would be done on a regular basis. And this ensures transparency. You're pulling out the senior leadership team into a separate structure. That way, when they're negotiating collective bargaining agreements, you're avoiding any conflict of interest because their pay is tied to those pay practices. This would, and I had mentioned this would be part of a larger project.
Thank you very much. So having heard that, Director Watson, I'd like to make a motion and a request. The motion is to freeze the percentage structure adjustment, moving the line right now. That is my motion. And then as part of that, I'd like to request that you move forward. We need to give our director, Kelvin Watson, an opportunity to see if he still wants the same management style or he wants a different management style, or if he wants to add more people or subtract people. And then that he come back to us with Mr. Serpico giving us, what percentiles and all the information that he said. And if you heard correctly, when they come back, the plan would be we would have to approve any raises that the director is giving his employees. And so clear as mud. So the only motion is to freeze at this moment the percent of structure adjustments for executive and upper management members. The motion is made by Felipe Ortiz, Chair. Is there a second?
I'll second. Raymaker.
Second by Senator Raymaker. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. And so the direction is still the same, Mr. Watson. You give you an opportunity to figure out your staff and how you want to work your staff, and then come back with us to see how you're going to give raises. And please give the raise or the performance raises. And then there's a lot of ways to do it. Just tell us, and you'll know your employees.
So is that a second motion?
No, that's just a direction. He still has to come back.
Okay. So are you making a second motion?
No.
Okay.
Just give them direction. Go ahead.
So when you're making your comparisons, like what a library director, or not director, but let's just say the outreach or someone like that line of employment, when you're checking that in other areas and other metropolitan areas, please keep in mind that our state's a little unique. Like if you were comparing that to in Denver, where taxes are higher in Colorado, property tax and so on, we do not have that here. And we don't have state income tax where they do in that state as well. So that makes a difference because they have a bigger pot, so to speak, to pull those monies out of and to, give to their library districts and so on. Or if they're not run by the state, they're run by the local municipalities or whatever. It's not really apples to apples. It's kind of like apples to pears.
Yeah, absolutely. And compensation, you can adjust for geographic differentials.
I just know you're from Florida, so that's, originally, but, I just wanted to point that out for both our members and employees that are online, as well as, to put it on the record here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I hope the two individuals that sent public comment, I hope this satisfies their questions and their comments. Thank you very much. We're on to our last item. It's an agenda item, discussion possible board action regarding a retainer agreement for the district general counsel. Scott Abbott, we had presented it previously, Bailey Kennedy, Greenberg Taurig, and general counsel Jerry Welt. And for the record, Elizabeth met with, or spoke with.
I'd like to read
go ahead.
a statement if I could.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is concerning the retainer agreement with Attorney Gerald Welt. First of all, a bit of history. In late summer 2020, the matter of our attorney's employment arrangements were first brought to the attention of the board. In October 2020, I, Trustee Foyt, was asked by Chair Ortiz to take on the task of formulating a new retainer agreement with Mr. Welt. As this position is a position reporting to and subject to the board directly, I felt it needed serious review and consideration. After conferring with Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, I was referred to Mary Ann Miller. She is the attorney who works specifically for the Clark County Commission. In early November 2020, Ms. Miller reviewed and refined the document and met personally with me to discuss fine points and revisions. The document presented today was approved by Chair Ortiz and was subject to his personal input and by Attorney Welt, with a number of useful suggestions from Ms. Miller included. I do support this agreement and would like to comment on the most reasonable fees charged by Mr. Welt. The new document clarifies his expenses, his hourly rates, and ownership of all and any records. These were important points. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we did not have a written agreement, or the mayor been, Mr. Welt, how long have you been on the board as the council?
Since 1978.
1978, okay. So I felt it important that we have legal agreements with all our legal counsels. And so, Mr. Welt, do you have any questions or comments on your agreement? Any follow-up?
No, it was a very amicable negotiation. I agreed with the points brought out. I think this sets out the responsibilities of both parties, and my office is very pleased with it.
And thank you very much, Mr. Welt. And again, very charitable rate. I really appreciate it. And of course, historical knowledge. We're not paying for his historical knowledge, but he does have a lot of it since 1978. Is that what you said?
Yes.
So in other words, he knows where the body, not only where the bodies are buried, he knows the names of the bodies, okay? If I can use that metaphor. So having said that, Mr. Wilson, do you have any questions or comments on the contract with Mr. Welt?
I just want a quick thank you for this. In all honesty, Jerry, I always thought you were the library's attorney and you just were the one assigned to cover the board. So this clarifies, I like seeing it very clear now, knowing that you're here representing the board's interest, not necessarily, you know, I know we're all on the same team, but it's a lot more clear now, and a lot less muddy. So I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Marilyn Francis Drake, any comments or questions on Attorney Welt's contract?
No questions, but again, thank you to him for all of his years of service.
Thank you very much. Robin Wadley-Munier.
I just would like to echo that. I have no questions. Thank you for the agreement with the council actual contract. And I appreciate that. And I've really appreciated you over the 10 years I've been here. And I really thank you for that, Mr. Welt.
Thank you very much. Dr. Rogers, did you have any questions or comments on Attorney Welt's contract?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. Trustee Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any questions or comments?
No, sir, but thank you, Jared, for all your years of work.
Thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any questions or comments?
Just a comment. I think legal counsel Welch and myself are probably the last of the Mohicans since we've been here. You know, he was the first person, one of the first persons I met when I started the board, you know, 20 years ago, I think. So I appreciate all his knowledge. He's definitely been one of those that if I had questions, he was the first one I went to. So I appreciate you sticking in there for us.
Thank you very much. Trustee Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I think Council Welch as well. I cannot stress enough on having that institutional knowledge. 1978, I was a mere 4 years old. So thank you. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you very much. Trustee Senator Raymaker, do you have any questions or comments?
I just want to thank you for all you have done for us. I mean, it's been, from what I've seen and worked with you, I think you're a great counsel for us, and I think this is a great contract. Thanks for working it out.
Thank you very much. Trustee Elizabeth Foy, do you have any questions or comments?
Just thank Jerry again. It was a pleasure to work with him. We went back and forth had quite a few emails and things, but it was a very equitable process. Thank you, Jerry.
Jerry, thank you very much. I constantly ask him, I talk to him every so often to make sure I'm doing things correctly. I disagree with him, but I follow his direction. I'm not naive or stupid not to follow legal counsel. That's the first thing. The second thing is I always ask them, have you seen this before? Oh yeah, back in. And so we're not the first, we're not the last to have issues that have come up before and we've not found a solution. So I really value that, council, and every time I call, you take our calls. And so thank you. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the retainer agreement for Mr. Gerald Welt, legal counsel for the Board of Trustees. So moved by Robin Wadley Mundier. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Elizabeth Foyt. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much. Motion carries.
Aye.
Thank you so much. Jerry, thank you so much again. And don't lose our records. He doesn't keep any records, by the way. He's got them up here in his mind. Okay, the next board meeting will be held on Thursday, March 11th, 6 p.m. via WebEx at the Summerlin Library, WebEx and/or at the Summerlin Library for anybody who'd like to attend. Announcements. Shannon Bilberry Axelrod, did you have any announcements at this time?
Just goodbye, everyone. You keep doing great work, and I'm proud of you all, and thank you for everything.
Thank you very much. Jose Luis Melendez, did you have any announcements?
No, but everybody keep wearing your mask. Stay safe.
Okay, thank you very much. Trustee Kelly Benavides, do you have any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, any announcements?
No announcements.
Thank you. Sandra Raymaker, do you have any announcements?
None, thank you.
Elizabeth Foyt, any announcements?
None at this time.
Thank you very much. Robin Wadley Munier, any announcements? Thank you. Merlin Francis Drake, any announcements?
Nothing now.
Okay, let's hope the wherever we sell our books in Arizona opens up quickly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Brian Wilson, do you have any announcements?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Director, any announcements where you're going to be or where you need us or anything like that?
No announcements today.
And you're not quitting.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, good. Hey. Well, again, welcome aboard. And for those listening, we'll get it right. We promise you, we'll do you right also as employees. So thank you so much. Okay, having heard that, Ms. Ellison, are there any public comments?
I'm sorry, just let me check one thing, and no more public comment.
And thank you for the public comments. Keep sending them in. Trust us. We are listening to you. Thank you so much. Having heard that, there is no executive session. This meeting is adjourned.